Hello, today we are talking about Tubereuse Criminelle by Serge Lutens. This is a perfume that was launched in 1999. The perfumer is Christopher Sheldrake, and it's a really interesting perfume because it kind of crosses that line into perfume being art and brings up the question of whether there's ever perfume that's too artistic to be wearable, and what does it mean to be an artistic perfume, and is it really, even worth wearing something like this, because it is quite different. It kind of solidified the Serge Lutens reputation of being an artistic perfume company. That's why it's niche. It's unlike anything else that you would find at the department store or the drugstore. I've only smelled one other thing like it, which I'll get to later. But Tubereuse Criminelle, this came up at discounters earlier this year, so I had to get a bottle. It's been on my wish list forever. I think the first time I smelled it, I probably didn't understand it for what it was, because it opens up with a really strong wintergreen note. And the wintergreen, if you're familiar with it, you know it. It's exactly like chewing gum, breath freshener, toothpaste. It's all those things. And yes, that is what this perfume opens with. It's a blast of it, so it's not like you're going to really have to sniff your hand up close to get it. You will be assaulted by it almost the second you spray this perfume. And that's what makes it so interesting, because it does open up in a really artistic way. The rest of the perfume really does focus on that tuberose note, and it really is a Soliflor in that respect. It's a true tuberose. It's not, a generic white floral. It's a nice cold tuberose perfume. That part does not project as much. It doesn't have very much sillage. It stays closer to your skin. I would say the wintergreen is really what projects the most and has most sillage. So maybe for the first half an hour to hour of wear, you get a lot of that wintergreen, and then as that part warms up, you get the tuberose, and the tuberose is really what's with you throughout the day, which is really, really interesting. Of course, like all perfumes, it's gonna work differently on different people. I know people that are really warm, like they just have body heat that's just warmer. That wintergreen note really doesn't last as long, and you'll get more of a tuberose perfume. I'm not one of those people that's always very hot, so I mostly get, at least an hour of wintergreen, and then I'll get tuberose for the dry down of the perfume, and that's what mostly I can smell the rest of the day. This is definitely a unisex perfume. I can easily get 8 hours of it. I also feel like it's a perfume that I like to reapply because I like smelling that wintergreen top note. And I have to say, this again is not a perfume that's a people pleaser because it's so unusual. The tuberose in it is quite indolic, so it does have a little bit of that mothball vibe that not everybody appreciates. I would say that sometimes that can be an acquired taste. So for me, I've got a few indolic perfumes in my collection. I mean, Fleur d'Oranger, also by Serge Lutens, is quite indolic as well. Love that. And the indoles in that don't bother me anymore, and the indoles in this one don't bother me either. But if you're that person that's sensitive to indoles, or someone around you is, then it might take you longer to really fall in love with this perfume or appreciate this perfume. But really, this to me seems like a scent that is a little bit aloof. It's a little bit detached. It's not a friendly perfume. It's definitely not cozy. To me, it is a perfume that you wear when you want to focus or you want to be in your own zone, and you're not going to be a social butterfly necessarily when you wear this. So maybe it's for those extroverts that have their introverted moments, or introverts maybe for when they're at home and they're really, really introverted. That would be a good time to wear this perfume. I wore it a couple days ago, and I couldn't help but think of this Bob Dylan quote that I read, and he was talking about how he started memorizing poems. And so as he practiced memorizing, he was able to memorize poems that were longer and longer and longer. And he said that the practice of doing that made him able to focus on himself and not so interested in any kind of drama or anything that was going on around him, which was really interesting. And so it's not that he wasn't able to see what was going on. He was, but he was quite detached from it, and he was more focused on himself and his own art. And I think Tubereuse Criminelle is for that, or it's for that moment, or it's for that type of a person. You know, I really think of Bob Dylan memorizing those poems and wearing Tubereuse Criminelle, because all of a sudden he's at arm's length and he doesn't have to be emotionally involved in whatever else is going on. He can just focus on his art and focus on his poems. And I think, you know, something like that requires an artistic perfume. And if you're looking for that, then definitely Tubereuse Criminelle might be one that you want to check out. It's also been compared a lot to Carnal Flower by Frederic Malle. I adore Carnal Flower. It's definitely one of my favorite perfumes, maybe even in my top 10. I don't think I'd ever want to be without it. Carnal Flower is mentholated, but not wintergreen like this is. I think Carnal Flower is definitely more wearable. I think it's more approachable. It's meant for a wider audience. You know, it is sold in almost all department stores. This was not in department stores, and like I said, it was at discounters, so I feel like collectors or people that kind of knew what they were getting would buy this. Carnal Flower to me is like walking through a damp garden, like at nighttime, like a damp forest that has tuberose in it at nighttime. It's cooling, refreshing, but not cold. It just is, it's a relief, a respite from the heat is what I think of when I think of Carnal Flower, and when I wear it, that's what it feels like to me. This, I think, is more like walking through a tuberose garden, not a forest. It's not as damp. It is definitely cool. It's almost like you're chewing gum and walking through this garden, and you're by yourself and not interested in anyone else. And it's not hot outside. It's giving you kind of a bubble of air conditioning around you. No matter what's going on, you know, you're going to be protected. That's what this is. I love it. If you've tried it and you don't like it, or you do like it, if it's in your collection or not in your collection, let me know. These are the Gratte-Ciel bottles from the brand, and I actually think they're super annoying because they don't fit on any of my shelves and they don't fit in any of my drawers, so I have to keep this out on my dresser, or, you know, in like an open space all the time, and I don't like doing that. I like to keep things hidden away from the light. But yeah, maybe one day I'll find a cupboard or cabinet that's tall enough for this. But yep, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.